Hello children, how are you all? I hope you are fit and fine. Children, as you all know, we have started chapter number 1 in your honeycomb book. And the chapter name is 3 questions. Few paragraphs we have already read and these paragraphs were explained also. Children, we will be continuing the same chapter and the next paragraph. So children, I hope you have understood the chapter, few paragraphs that I have explained already. So I hope you have understood. And any queries, any question, any doubts, if it is there, you can ask me in online classes. So children, as we have read yesterday, in 3 questions, the king was asked to the people and the messengers were sent to give message throughout the country, and many wise men came over there and they gave their suggestion, but king was not satisfied at all. Now here children, here you can see the 3rd question. Some said science, others chose fighting, and yet others religious worship. And we have discussed there were 3 questions. The first one was, what is the right time to begin something? The second question was, which people should he listen to? What is the most important thing for him to do? And this is the thought of the king, that if these questions were solved, so he would be a very successful person in his life. So that is why he was asking these type of the question. He searched, he pursued these type of the question, that he wanted to understand what is the meaning of these questions and how these questions and these answers will help him. So children, we will be continuing the same chapter, and as the answer to his questions were so different, the king was not satisfied and gave no reward. Instead, he decided to seek the advice of certain hermit who was widely known for his wisdom. Now children, here you can see the king was not satisfied at all of the suggestion of different type of the wise men. Now the suggestions were so confusing, that is why king was not satisfied, and he wanted to, you can see he wanted that the accurate answer of these questions. That is why he went to the hermit's place. Now, what is the meaning of hermit? So now I am going to write on the board hermit. Hermit, you can say these type of the people, very simple people, and they used to live in the lonely places, or you can say where no any distraction are there, that type of the place they want to live. So they are called hermit, just like a saint, just like a sage, they are called hermit. Now the meaning of hermit is a person who lives alone and leads a simple life. So a person who lives alone and leads a simple life. So in the, you can say in the thought of the king, that he understood that these type of the person can solve his problem. Now that is why the king was decided to go to the hermit place. As the answer of his question was so different, the king was not satisfied and gave no reward to anyone. And instead of that, in place of the giving award, he decided to seek the advice of certain hermit who was widely known for his wisdom. This hermit, this person who lived in a very lonely place, or you can say the countryside, that person full of wisdom. That is why the king was in search of that person, and he went into the wood. The hermit lived in a wood which he never left. He saw no one but simple people, and so the king put on ordinary clothes before he reached the hermit's hut. The king left his horse with his bodyguard and went on alone. Children, here you can see in this paragraph the character of hermit. The new character in this story, and this showed the character of hermit, very simple person, and he used to meet only and only simple, humble, down-to-earth persons. He never visited high-profile people. He used to meet simple, kind, and poor people. So that is why this king disguised himself as a simple poor man. He put off his all royal costumes and he wore simple clothes just like a farmer or any common people. He wore, and he went to the hermit place. And so that king put on ordinary clothes, simple and ordinary clothes, before he reached the hermit's hut, and the king left his horse with his bodyguard. And when you can see this is the border of the kingdom, and after the border of the kingdom the wood was started. So that is why he left his horse with his bodyguard at the border of the wood. So now the new word is wood. Wood, you can see, is a very small type of forest. It's a kind of forest, but it's not typical forest, but it is a small forest. So children, write it down. What is the meaning of wood? Wood means, or you can say woods also. So the meaning of wood and woods, a small forest. So children, here you can see hermit and wood. This is two word meaning we got in this paragraph. Now here you can see he decided to seek the advice of a certain hermit who was widely known for his wisdom. It means this person was widely known as a brilliant person, as a learned person, or you can say very famous for his wisdom. Now before he reached the hermit's hut, the king left his horse with his bodyguard and went on alone. He went lonely inside that wood. As the king came near the hermit's hut, he saw the hermit digging the ground in front of his hut. He greeted the king and continued digging. The hermit was old and weak, and as he worked, he breathed heavily. Now children, here you can see, though this hermit was an old person, but he was doing his work. He was doing hard work. From this scene, you can understand that even though we don't have power, even though we don't have strength, but we should work hard for our, you can say, for our society and for our people. So we should do something. Now for this example, you can see this simple hermit, and he was digging a bed. Now the word is digging. Now let's know what is the meaning of digging. This is digging. Dig is a word, and now here we are using digging. So this is continuous tense. Digging. The meaning of digging is break up and move. Move earth with a tool or machine or with hands. It means break up and move earth with a tool or machine or with a hand. So it is the meaning of digging. So write it down, these three word meanings. Now we are moving to, he greeted the king and continued digging. Now the king greeted the hermit, and in the answer of his greeting, he already replied and he just continued in his digging. The hermit was old and weak, and he was an aged person. So as he worked, he breathed heavily. It's simple thing that if you can see in your house that old lady or your grandparents, those who are working very hard, so you can see their breathing, the breathing system, or you can say their due to less power or strength, they feel very low sometimes when they are doing hard work or any tough work which is beyond their strength. So these type of the very simple thing. So here you can see, because he was an old and weak person, that is why he breathed heavily, because he was continuously digging that bed with a spade. So that is why he felt very, very, you can say weary, and his breathing was heavily. Now here the breathed heavily, what do you mean by breathed heavily? So I'm going to write on the board, you just write it down. Breathed heavily. Now the meaning of breathed heavily is to breathe slowly and loudly. This is very common action when an old person or asthmatic person who is trying to work hard, so naturally they can breathe like that. So it's the sound of their breathing is louder than the common people. So that is why the word is given, breathed heavily, to breathe slowly and loudly. There is a sound in their breathing. Inhale and exhale, while taking breathe inside and outside, inhale and exhale, that time they are having loud sound, and they can breathe it heavily, slowly. So the king went up to the hermit and said, I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer 3 questions. How can I learn to do the right thing at the right time? Who are the people I need most? And what affairs are the most important? Now here, children, you can see again he repeated his 3 questions. So what is the right time to start something new work? And who will suggest me? Who will suggest me the correct thing? And the third question was that, and what affairs are most important? What work I should start first? So these are the 3 questions and repeated in the front of the hermit. The hermit listened to the king but did not speak. Now here very strange thing happened. The king was telling his question or asking question to the hermit, but the hermit did not answer. So as a king it's very insulting, but he was not a king at all in the house of hermit, in the hut of hermit. He became very simple, kind person. So that is why he had to control his temper. That is why he kept his mouth mum and he never repeated it again, but he was just curious to know the answer from the hermit's mouth. The hermit listened to the king but did not speak. He went on digging. Now here you can see he breathed heavily, but he went on digging. He was continuously digging. You are tired, said the king. Now the king continuously was watching this old person, this old hermit, and he was quite surprised to see that old person was doing his work, because as you all know, children, that he was a king and he never ever done this type of the work, because he had a lot of servant and disciples in his house, and the hermit also was having disciples in his hut. But here you can see a strange thing happened, that without giving any answer, without giving any reply of the king, he was continuously digging. And after that, what happened? The king felt very sorry about this person, because he was an old person, learned person, very humble, but he was doing his work. That is why he felt very sorry about that, and he said, you are tired, and then let me take the spade and work in your place. So here he said, let me take the spade and I'll do in place of yours. So here the strange thing happened. The king was trying to take the spade from his hand. Spade, what is a spade? A spade is a kind of tool which is used to dig the soil or earth. So this is the, you can say it's a metal instrument, and the farmers used to dig the fields. So thanks, said the hermit, giving the king his spade, and he sat down on the ground. Now here, children, you can see hermit was surprised, but he said, okay, king, okay. Not king, he said, okay, I am giving you this spade to you. You can continue this. So here, children, you can see, thanks. He replied with gratitude. He said, thanks, said the hermit, giving the king his spade, Then he sat down on the ground. After giving the spade, he sat down on the ground. Now I'm going to write the meaning of spade. So first of all, you just write down hermit, wood and digging, and breathed heavily. Write it down or take a screenshot, and after that we will write spade. Now spade. So the meaning of a spade is a tool, with the sharp edge. Edged, typically rectangular, metal blade, and a long handle, used for digging or cutting earth. So this is a tool with a sharp edge, typically rectangular metal blade, and a long handle used for digging or cutting earth. So as I told you that this is a tool. It is generally used by the farmer. So when the king had dug 2 bits, he stopped and repeated his question. The hermit gave no answer but stood up, stretching out his hand for the spade, and said, "Now you rest, let me work." But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. Now children, here you can see beds. What is bed? I am going to write over here beds. Okay, this is the new word, and the meaning of beds is small patches of ground for plants. Now you can say in Hindi it's a kyari or kyari. So this is small patches of ground for plants. Before sowing any seed inside the soil, we have to prepare a proper ground for the seed. So that is why we have to dig this ground and making the soil very smooth and transparent. That is why this tool is used to dig the ground to make the soil smooth. So the bed is called a small patches of ground for plants. So hermit was preparing beds, and in place of hermit the king was started digging. Here you can see, and after some time, when the king had dug 2 beds, he stopped and repeated his question. And after digging 2 beds, because king was digging that time, after digging 2 beds, he made 2 beds, and after that he started repeating his question, 3 questions. Now here the hermit gave no answer. Again, hermit gave no answer But instead of giving answer, he stood up and stretching out his hand for the spade. And stretching out means try to hold something. Stretching out means trying to hold something. So here you can see, children, in place of giving the answer, he stood up and he just hold that spade from the hand of this king. And he took the spade and he started working and said, now you rest and let me work. Now I am going to start my work, you just take rest, Hermit said. But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. But the king was very adamant that time, and and in the heart of the king there was a soft corner for this hermit because he was an old person, and the king was also very kind person. That is why he did not give that spade to hermit, and he continued his digging. 1 hour passed, then another. The sun went down behind the trees, and at last the king stuck the spade into the ground and said, I came to you, wise man, for an answer to my questions. If you can give me no answer, tell me so, and I'll return home. Here comes someone running, said the hermit. Now 1 hour passed. Here you can see the king was continuously digging the ground and making beds. Then another 1 hour passed, and after that another hour passed. The sun went down behind the trees. Afternoon to the evening, the sunset time was there, and at last the king stuck the spade into the ground and said, now after that, because it's getting dark, it was getting dark, that is why he stuck his spade into the ground. Now what is the meaning of stuck? So I am going to write over here stuck. We should know each and every difficult word, how do we can pronounce it, and what is the meaning of these type of the words, because these are all new words for us. So that is why I am writing all the words on the board and with the meaning, and you just write it down in your copy and learn this. So now here stuck, push a sharp or pointed object into or through. So the meaning of a stuck is push a sharp or pointed object into or through. So he just stuck his spade in the ground and he stopped working, and again he asked that I came here, king said, I came here, sir, for asking these 3 questions. He repeated again, but you did not give the answer. Why, sir? Now again, hermit said nothing. He kept his mouth mum, and again he said that here comes someone running, said the hermit. Hermit said, he just diverted his mind from the answer, from the question, and he said that someone is coming towards them. So here you can see hermit did not give answer. This is the first part of the story. In first part, we are not finding any answer of 3 questions. When we will start the second part of the story, then we can see the answer. So Leo Tolstoy very beautifully created this story, and these 3 questions are important for us also. So that is why we should curious to know the answer. And here after that we will solve some comprehension check after completing this first part, because now we have completed first part of the story. So children, write it down, these word meanings, because this is very, very important for us. And after that, learn these word meanings. And so that's all for today. We will meet again tomorrow. Till then, bye-bye and take care.